Hello, my name is Clifford Eberly. I'm the Exhibitions Associate here at Hicks Art Center Gallery. And today I am speaking with Melissa Misoda. She was a student with Karl Carter. And so I wanted to get her feedback and talk to her a little bit. And her work is in the Atrium Gallery with this exhibition. So Melissa, when did you first start taking glassblowing at Bucks, and then how did you meet Karl?
Yeah, so actually, I believe it was 94, and Karl was actually a student at the time, and Don Gonzalez was the teacher. We kind of met back then, and that was my first taste of glassblowing, and I instantly fell in love and decided I was going to go to a four-year college and get a degree. So I went, after starting there, I moved on to California College of Arts and Crafts, now known as California College of Art, in Oakland. Spent about a year there and decided California wasn't really for me. So I moved back, and when I returned to Bucks, Karl was the teacher at that point. So that was pretty cool. I had known Karl from being a student with him, and you know, he was great as a student, and then great as a teacher. And so I continued at Bucks for I think at least another year before moving on to Tyler in Philadelphia, where I got my bachelor's degree.
And so you were down at the Art Barn, is that right?
I was in the old studio. Yeah, I remember having just the one glory hole and the one furnace and sharing the space with the sculpture program. I was only briefly at the new studio. It looks fantastic. But yep, that's where I got my start back at the barn.
And how would you describe like the class setting? I mean, how many people were working together?
Oh gosh. I believe at that time there were two benches. I remember the focus was actually on solo blowing, blowing by yourself, punting by yourself, loading the annealer by yourself. I don't know if that was Don's doing. I'm thankful that I had that training to be able to work by myself, but I remember when I got to California and everybody was picking their teams, their partners, who they were going to blow with, and I was like, what do you mean? That opened a whole new world for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, blowing with a partner is so much better. But I always think back to that time of being trained to basically work by yourself and being thankful for it. But yeah, I recall really, I mean, and that was in the blow slot, not in the class. The class obviously had more, but the blow slots that we got after class, I believe were about 2 people in there, if I recall. Maybe Karl can correct me.
So when you started at Bucks, then you were pretty much a beginner.
I was definitely a beginner. Back in '94, I honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I actually thought I was going to go to beauty school and become a hairstylist. And I just remember paging through the catalog and coming across a class called glassblowing and having no clue what it was, but just thinking it sounded like an interesting class to try. And I think I left that very first class and ripped up my beauty school application and went, this is what I'm doing. And I'm still doing it.
Yeah. Can you think of any stories about Karl that you want to share?
You know, the biggest thing I remember about Karl is his smile. He always had a big smile on his face and was always just very happy to be there, very excited. And I think that energy kind of passed on to everybody around him and kind of got everybody else excited about working with glass too. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's been a while. So let's just say my memory is not what it used to be. I'm not getting any younger, but that is definitely what I remember the most.
That's great. And you said it before when we were speaking that you did come back as like a visiting artist. So he must have seen something in you or liked your outlook on glass. So,
I guess. I don't know what, but I guess so. No, we definitely kept in touch. You know, thanks to Facebook, I think that really allowed people to keep in touch as we moved around because, yeah, I ended up, after I graduated from Tyler, I got a job across the country in Seattle teaching glassblowing to high school students. And I think it was when I went back to Alfred in upstate New York for my master's degree, and he saw that I was there. And like I said, we had just kept in touch. And so since I was so close in upstate New York, he invited me out as a former student, which I think is super valuable. I do it myself teaching high school. I love to have former students out who have kept, you know, with glass because that's really inspiring and it allows other students to know that it is a possibility. It can be done, you know. You can definitely keep working in glass and follow your passion and make it happen.
So would that be your advice then for students at Bucks or anywhere just starting out then to?
Definitely. So, you know, I think my advice to any student would be if you love it, find a way to have it in your life, you know, whether it be making a career out of it or renting time in a studio to keep doing it. I personally am a huge advocate in art for mental health, and I think it's important to follow that path and find a way, you know. It is definitely one of the harder paths to take, but I think if it's what brings you joy and happiness, you need to find a way to have it in your life somehow. And there are enough studios around. You can teach in a studio, you can rent time in a studio, you can somehow keep it there. I know for me personally, if I am not doing art of some sort, and glass is where, you know, my heart is, I can feel myself mentally deteriorating. I need that creative outlet. So for me, finding a way to do it was not really an option. It needed to happen.
That's great. That's great advice. Well, before we go, I wanted to ask just one more thing about glass. What's your favorite sort of way of working glass, or what's your favorite part of glass blowing, that, if there is one?
Oh, all of it, all of it. Well, that's not true. I don't like cold working. I will say it. I am not a cold working fan, but anything hot, I love it. My work consists of so many things. I do vessels and vases. I like to work with color, but I also do sculptural work where I really like to focus on the clarity of the glass, working with clear glass. Many years ago, I started welding and found a lot of similarities between you know, molten metal and molten glass. So I'll do a lot of metal work with my glass. The process, I think, is just as much to me as the final piece, just working with that molten material. Yeah.
Great, great. Well, I thank you so much for speaking with me and catching up and being a part of this video. I think it'll be a really great thing to show in the gallery. So I appreciate that. And
Thanks for having me, and
you're welcome. You're
having
welcome.
that program there, which changed my life, I know. So
Terrific. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day.
I will. Thank you. You too.
Okay.